The mining station floated silently above the dead moon. Cold and gray, the surface below had no life. Only machines worked there, digging for metals no one on Earth needed anymore. But Earth was far away now. This was Tarsi's Station 7 and 2. Jonah Cross. It was home. He had lived there for 3 years. Every morning he checked the drills, fixed broken arms, and sent reports back to the company. He didn't talk much. He liked it that way. Alone, quiet, and forgotten. Jonah was a tall man, with rough hands and tired eyes. His hair had started turning gray early, and the lines on his face showed a history he didn't share. He had once been in the Earth Fleet, a soldier in the last border war, but that was long ago. Now, he was just a technician on a station nobody cared about. But everything changed the day the unknown ship came. It was just after midday, though time didn't mean much in space. Jonah was in the control room, eating a cold protein bar, when the alert sounded. A soft tone first, then louder. Unidentified object entering orbit. No registry code detected. Jonah frowned. He wiped his hands and checked the screen. A ship. Small, smooth, almost beautiful. It didn't match any known design. Not Earth, not Martian, not even trade ships from the belt. He called the others. There were only 6 people on the whole station. Few engineers, a medic, and 1 security. Officer, no one answered. The camera showed they were all frozen at their posts, staring at their screens. Is it broadcasting? Jonah asked the station AI. No signals detected, the AI replied. Approach is non-aggressive. No weapons visible.
Right.
Still, Jonah felt uneasy. The ship glided down toward the far ridge, outside the base's perimeter. No ships were supposed to land there. There were no pads, no signals, not even lights. Yet this one touched down gently, like it had been here before. Jonah grabbed his coat, his tool belt, and an old handheld scanner. He didn't carry a weapon. This wasn't a war zone. At least not yet. The elevator took him down, past layers of metal, cables, and echoing tunnels. As he stepped out onto the moon's surface, the world became silent. No wind, no birds, just the soft crunch of dust under his boots. The strange ship stood like a sculpture, silver and curved, as if grown, not built. There were no markings, no windows, just a single glowing line across the center. Then it opened. A soft hiss of gas escaped, and a ramp slid out. Jonah froze, unsure what to expect. And then she walked out. The woman was tall and graceful. Her skin had a faint glow, pale like moonlight. Her eyes were deep violet, unlike any human's. She wore a suit that shimmered in the low light, smooth and without seams. She looked at Jonah and smiled. Jonah Cross, she said. He stiffened. What do you know my name? She stopped a few steps away, hands open and empty. Her voice was calm and gentle, but firm. Hey. I have traveled many years to find you. Jonah raised his scanner. No weapon, no threat signs. Her body temperature was normal, her oxygen levels stable. She wasn't lying, at least not yet. I don't know you, he said carefully. She tilted her head, her eyes shining like stars. Shall I tell you a secret? She asked. Jonah didn't answer, just nodded slowly. She stepped closer, not threatening, just curious. Like she was seeing something long lost. On my planet, she said softly, your name is a legend. Jonah stared at her, heart pounding. He searched her face for signs of a joke or a lie. But she looked serious, almost sad. That's not possible, he said. I'm just a technician, a nobody. She shook her head. Not to us. The windless silence around them made her words louder somehow. Jonah couldn't move. The scanner in his hand blinked slowly, useless now. You were a soldier once, she continued. You made a choice that changed more than you know. Stories of that choice reached our world. It's carried through broken satellites and lost data. You are remembered even if you forgot yourself. Jonah took a step back. You're mistaken. Whatever story you heard, it's not about me. But deep down, a small voice whispered, "What if it is?" The woman looked at him with kindness. "May I come with you? We have much to discuss." Jonah hesitated. He had spent years hiding from the past, from medals he didn't deserve, from decisions that cost lives. But something about her felt true. In her eyes they held no fear, only hope. He lowered his scanner. "All right," he said at last. "But if this is some kind of trick—" "It's not," she said gently. They walked side by side, back toward the station. Above them, the stars watched in silence. Behind them, the silver ship waited, as if knowing its mission was only just. Beginning, the station doors closed behind them with a hiss. The lights inside buzzed softly as they walked through the narrow corridor. Jonah looked back at the alien woman, still unsure what to make of her. She walked calmly, her eyes curious, her hands folded in front of her. The other crew members had gathered in the control room. Their faces showed fear, confusion, and awe. No one had ever seen a real alien before, not like this. There were stories of distant contacts, of strange signals, but nothing ever confirmed. Until now, Jonah led her into the room. The crew stared at her in silence. "This is Sarah," Jonah said simply. "She says she came looking for me." The medic, a woman named Dr. Myra Lane, stepped forward. "Is she dangerous?" "She doesn't seem to be," Jonah replied. He looked at Sarah. "Are you?" "No," Sarah said gently. "I come in peace. I mean no harm." Her voice was smooth and calm, almost like music. Slowly, the tension in the room eased. They all sat down. Jonah stood beside Sarah, arms crossed. "Said my name is a legend on your planet," he said. "I need you to explain that." Sarah nodded. "I will, but first I must ask. Do you remember what happened? On the Outer Rim, 20 years ago? The Drekker War?" Jonah's face darkened. That was a name he hadn't heard in a long time. The Drekker were not well known to the public. They were a powerful alien species that attacked human colonies near the edge of known space. "The war had been short but brutal, I remember," Jonah said slowly. "I was part of it." Sarah continued. "There was a planet uninhabited, they thought. Your fleet was ordered to destroy it, to stop the Drekker from using it as a base. But you disobeyed. You refused to fire." Jonah looked down. There were life signs, not human. And we didn't know what they were, but they weren't Drekker either. I couldn't let them die. Sarah smiled faintly. "And so you saved them." "They were my people." Everyone in the room went still. Jonah's eyes widened. "What?" "My people were explorers," she explained. "They were studying ancient technology. Your fleet thought they were Drekker spies. But you chose. To wait, you held back your ship's fire even when others didn't." Jonah's voice was quiet now. "Most of the others followed orders. I didn't." "You were punished," Sarah said softly. "Demoted, sent to a lower post. Then you left the service. But what you did was not forgotten. The ones you saved told the story. It spread across space. Your name became a symbol of hope, of mercy." Jonah looked away, uncomfortable. "I didn't do it to be remembered. I just didn't want to kill innocent people. Not that," Sarah said, "is why you were a legend." The room was silent. Again, Jonah sat down, rubbing his forehead. "So, why now? Why come here, after all these years?" Sarah's face became serious. "Because the Drekker have returned. They are gathering again. And they remember you too, Jonah Cross. To them, you are a threat." "A threat?" he said, confused. "Why would they care about me?" Sarah answered. "Because stories shape the future. Your story inspired resistance. It gave others the courage to stand. If that spirit spreads again, the Drekker know they will lose control." Jonah stood up. "I'm not a hero. I'm not even a soldier anymore." "You don't have to be," Sarah said. "You just have to be yourself. Help me. Talk to the others. Show them that kindness still lives in the galaxy." Jonah looked at her. Her eyes were filled with something he hadn't seen in a long time. Belief. She truly believed he could make a difference. "I've spent years hiding from that day." He said, "I didn't want to remember it, but it remembered you," Sarah said gently. He turned to the crew. They were listening carefully now. Some of them looked surprised. Some looked proud. Dr. Lane spoke up. "You never told us any." "Of this, Jonah? It didn't seem important," he replied. "I think it is," she said. Sarah stepped closer. "Will you come with me? There are others who want to meet you, who need to hear from you. The alliance is growing, but it needs a spark. It needs your story." Jonah didn't answer right away. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. They looked peaceful, but he knew that darkness could hide behind the light. He thought of the lives he had saved, of the lives he had failed to save. It always carried the weight of that choice. Now he saw that maybe, just maybe, it had meant something. Finally, he turned back to her. "All right," he said, "I'll go with you. But no promises. I'm just one man." "One man," Sarah said, "can change a world." Outside, her silver ship waited, quiet and calm. But inside it, a new journey was about to begin, one that would take Jonah Cross far beyond the edge of the known stars, into places where his name already lived in the hearts of those who believed in something better.
Ow.
The ship was quiet as it flew through space, far from Tarsai's station. Jonah sat beside Sarah in the control room. She moved her fingers over glowing symbols on the smooth control board. The ship didn't have buttons or levers like human ships. Everything responded to her touch and thoughts. Jonah looked out the large front window. Stars passed by slowly. It felt peaceful, but a storm was coming. He could feel it. Sarah turned to him. "We will reach the relay point in a few hours. From there, we can send a message to the Alliance." "Alliance?" Jonah asked. She nodded. "Worlds that wish to remain free. Some are human colonies, others are alien civilizations. Most of them hide in fear of the Drekker that is starting to change." Jonah leaned back in his seat. "And you think I can help?" Sarah smiled softly. "I don't think you'd already have. Your name gave many the courage to hope again. They just don't know the real man behind the story." Jonah didn't answer. He wasn't sure what to say. Suddenly, the ship's lights turned red. "Alert," a calm voice said in Sarah's language. Jonah didn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. "What is it?" he asked. Sarah's hands moved quickly. Symbols flashed across the control board. "Okay, Drekker scout ship? It's here." Jonah stood up. "Here? How did they find us?" Sarah's voice was calm but tense. "They must have tracked my ship when I landed. Tried to hide my signal. But they're stronger now. Smarter. Can we outrun them? I'll try," she said. The ship turned sharply. Jonah held onto a railing as the room tilted. The stars outside spun. A thin line of light opened in front of them. Sarah's ship was trying to make a short jump through folded space. But just as they were about to enter the fold, a blast hit the ship. The lights flickered. The floor shook. Sparks flew from the control board. "We're hit," Jonah shouted. Sarah didn't answer. Her hands flew over the controls. She was focused, calm, but her eyes showed worry. The screen showed the Drekker ship was black and sharp, like a knife flying through the dark. Its engines glowed green. Jonah recognized the shape. He'd seen them before during the war. "Not firing to kill," he said. "They want to capture us." Sarah nodded. "They know who you are. Then we can't let them take us." Sarah turned to him. "There's a gravity field nearby. A broken moon. If we fly close to it, we can hide in the debris, but it's risky." Jonah smiled a little. "I've done worse." Sarah moved the ship quickly. The stars outside changed again. A broken, spinning moon came into view. Pieces of rock and metal floated around it. The Drekker ship followed, firing small shots to push them. Sarah flew into the debris field. The ship dodged rocks, some the size of buildings. Jonah watched in silence. The alien woman beside him flew like she had done this her whole life. One blast hit close. The shock made the ship spin, but Sarah corrected it. The Drekker were getting closer. "We can't keep running forever," Jonah said. "No," Sarah agreed. "But maybe we don't have to." She pressed a command. Part of the ship's side opened, revealing a long energy pod. "What's that?" Jonah asked. "A decoy," she said. "If I launch it into the rocks, it will copy our signal. It's the Drekker. We'll follow it, but we'll go silent." Jonah nodded. "Do it." The pod launched. Moments later, the Drekker ship turned toward the signal and fired. One of the rocks exploded. Jonah's ship went completely dark. No lights, no sound, just drifting. For a few long minutes, they floated in silence. Jonah's heart beat hard in his chest. Then Sarah whispered, "They're gone." Jonah let out a breath. "You're good," she smiled. "I've had practice." The lights came back on. Slowly, the ship moved away from the broken moon. The danger was past for now. Sarah sat back in her seat. "This proves it. The Drekker are watching. Everything now. They fear the stories. They fear what you stand for." Jonah looked out the window. "They fear hope." "Yes," Sarah said, "and they will try to crush it before it grows." Jonah thought for a long moment. "Then we don't just run. We need to fight back." Sarah nodded. "Came to find you." Jonah turned to her. "Tell me about this alliance. Who else is out there?" Her eyes lit up. "There's much I can show you. Planets you've never seen. People who still believe in peace. Leaders who need to know you're real." He smiled. "Then let's go meet them." As the ship turned toward deep space, Jonah Cross stood taller. He had run from the past for a long time. But now he was ready to face the future. And somewhere far across the stars, the Drekker were already planning their next move. Jonah had seen many things in his life wars, strange planets and lost colonies. But nothing prepared him for the place Sarah brought him to next. It was called the Ring of Unity. A massive space station built between 5 stars, was shaped like a wheel, turning slowly, with shining silver arms stretching out in every direction. Dozens of ships from different worlds floated nearby, some smooth and round, others sharp and tall, glowing with soft light. Jonah stood by the window of Sarah's ship, staring in awe. "This is the Alliance's heart," Sarah said. "This is where the leaders meet." Jonah nodded slowly. "I didn't think anything like this still existed." "Most people don't," Sarah replied. "The Drekker tried to erase it, but hope survived." As they approached the station, a voice spoke through the ship's speakers. Sarah replied calmly in her language, then turned to Jonah. "They're allowing us in. They've been waiting." "For you," Jonah raised an eyebrow. "Waiting for me?" Sarah smiled. "Yes, you're not just a legend here. You're a symbol. Your presence might unite them." Moments later, the ship docked. The doors opened with a soft hiss, and warm light flooded in. Jonah stepped out and followed Sarah through wide halls filled with people tall, aliens with glowing eyes. Short creatures with many arms, humans from far colonies, and even machine-like. Beings made of light and metal. All eyes turned toward Jonah as he walked. Some whispered. Some nodded with respect. It was strange. He had never asked for fame. But now he carried it like a coat he couldn't take off. They reached a round chamber. At the center of the station, high domes stretched above them, stars visible through the glass. In the middle of the room stood a circle of chairs, each one shaped differently to match the species that sat in them. The council had gathered. Sarah led Jonah to the center. A tall woman with bronze skin and silver markings on her face stood. "This is High Speaker Elia," Sarah said softly. "She leads the council." Elia looked at Jonah with deep, steady eyes. "So, the man who defied orders? The man who chose life over war? You are real, after all," Jonah nodded. "I didn't expect to be remembered, you were," Elia said. "And now we ask you to speak?" Jonah took a breath and stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong. "I didn't come here to be a leader. I didn't come to start a war, but I've seen what the Drekker are doing. I saw them chase us across space. I know they won't stop." He looked around the chamber. "I've spent years running from my past. But you know what I learned? A single choice can change everything. Not with weapons, not with fear, but with kindness, with courage. Many in the room nodded. Some looked uncertain, but all were listening. We can't wait for the Drekker to strike again. We have to stand together, not just as humans or as aliens, but as one. A pause filled the room. Then slowly, Elias stood again. You speak with truth, said Jonah Cross. But words alone are not enough. There is a planet in danger. Small colony on Moran is under Drekker threat. We sent a ship to help them. It vanished. Sarah's eyes widened. That's close to the border. Yes, Elias said. Too close. We believe the Drekker are testing us, seeing if we will fight. She turned to Jonah. Would you go there? Not as a soldier, but as a witness, as hope. Jonah didn't answer right away. He thought about the lives on that planet. People like him, quiet, working, just trying to survive. He looked at Sarah. She gave a small, encouraging nod. Finally he said, Yes, I'll go. Elias stepped forward and touched his shoulder. Then let your story continue. We will support you. As the meeting ended, Sarah walked with Jonah down a quiet hall. You were nervous, she said with a gentle smile. I was terrified, Jonah admitted, but I meant every word. You did well. The council believed you. Jonah looked. Out a window? Stars blinked in the dark. Moran 4? What do we know about it? A peaceful colony, Sarah said. Mostly human, with a few alien settlers. Farmers, builders, teachers. They don't have weapons. They'll be defenseless. If the Drekker attack. Sarah nodded. That's why we must reach them first. They returned to her ship, and soon they were flying again toward a planet that could become either a symbol of unity or the start of a new war. As they left the safety of the station behind, Jonah knew one thing for certain. He was no longer running, he was answering a call, and this time he would not stand alone. The journey to Moran took 2 days. Sarah's ship moved fast through deep space, far from the safe lines of the Alliance. Outside the windows, stars drifted by like cold sparks, and silence filled the ship. But inside, there was focus and worry. Jonah sat near the front console, studying maps and data. Sarah watched him quietly, noticing how serious he had become. Since leaving the council, he was no longer just the man she had found on Tarsai Station. He was starting to become the legend others believed in. You haven't slept, Sarah said gently. Jonah looked up, tired but alert. I can sleep later. I want to be ready. She nodded. We'll be there soon. But I must warn you, there's been no reply from the colony for 3 days. No signals? Jonah asked. Nothing. Total silence. Jonah stood. Then, we go in ready for anything. As the ship neared Moran 4, the view changed. A green and blue planet came into sight. It looked peaceful from space, with soft clouds floating over forests and wide plains. But Jonah knew danger could hide behind. Beauty Sarah slowed the ship and scanned the surface there, she said, pointing to a flat area near a river. That was their main colony site. Jonah squinted at the screen. Sarah zoomed in. The buildings were still there, but many were broken. Smoke trails stretched into the sky. Fields were burnt. No movement could be seen. They were attacked, she said softly. Jonah clenched his fists. We need to land. Someone might still be alive. Sarah nodded and guided the ship down. Landing on Moran, Ivitha's ship touched down near the edge of the colony. The air was clean but smelled faintly of smoke and burned metal. Jonah stepped out first, wearing a light armor suit provided by Sarah's ship. Sarah followed, her scanning tool in hand. They walked through the empty town. Houses were silent. Windows broken. Tools lay on the ground, left in a hurry. It looked like people had run and hadn't come back. Drekker, Jonah said quietly. They came fast. No warning. Sarah studied a wall marked with strange symbols. These are their signs. They didn't just attack, they wanted to. Leave a message. Jonah felt a chill. They want fear to spread. They continued walking until they reached the town center. A signal came through Sarah's scanner, faint but steady. There's something underground, she said. A shelter. They moved toward a small metal door hidden beneath a pile of debris. Jonah cleared the rubble and pulled the hatch open. A ladder led down into darkness. "I'll go first," he said. He climbed down carefully, flashlight in hand. At the bottom, a small hallway led to a thick door. He knocked softly. For a moment, there was silence. Then the door opened slightly. A woman peeked out, eyes wide with fear. Jonah held up his hand. "It's okay. We're here to help." She opened the door wider. Inside were at least 30 people, humans, and a few aliens, tired, scared, but alive. Children clung to parents. Some were injured. The woman stepped forward. "I'm Zara. I helped run the school. Who are you?" Jonah looked around the shelter. These people had survived a nightmare. He couldn't tell them he was a hero, but he could be honest. "My name is Jonah Cross," he said. "We came from the Alliance. We're here to get you out." Zara gasped. "Your name? You're the one from the stories." Jonah shook his head gently. "Just someone trying to help." She smiled, tears in her eyes. "Help is enough." Hard truth, they brought the survivors up into the daylight. Sarah began treating the wounded with a med kit. Jonah listened as Zara explained what had happened. "The Drekker came at night," she said. "No warning. They didn't kill everyone, just enough to scare us. Then they left, but said they would return." Jonah's jaw tightened. "They're playing a game, not just conquering, sending a message." Sarah agreed. "They want the Alliance to fear their strength. And they want people to lose faith in hope." "We have to evacuate these people," Jonah said. "I've already sent a signal to the nearest Alliance ship," Sarah replied. "But it may take time." Zara stepped closer. "If the Drekker returned before then..." Jonah looked at the broken horizon. "Then we hold this ground." Preparing for a stand, Jonah worked with the survivors to build defenses. They set up barriers using farm tools, broken vehicles, and anything they could find. Repair old communication towers. Boosting their signal, the people followed Jonah not because he gave orders, but because he listened. He lifted heavy beams, carried children to safety, and never spoke as if he was better than anyone else. "He's just like the stories." One man said to another. "No," said Zara. "He's better. He's real." As night fell, Sarah stood beside Jonah on a rooftop. "The Drekker could come any time," she said. "I know," Jonah replied. "But I'm ready now." She looked at him. "You were meant for this." He smiled. "I wasn't meant for anything. I chose this. Like I chose to stop running." The stars above them shimmered quietly. Somewhere beyond those stars, the Drekker were watching, and this time they would not find fear. They would find resistance. The sun had set behind the forests of Moran 4, and darkness covered the land. Jonah stood with Sarah on the hill, overlooking the small colony. Lights flickered in the homes below, and the sound of quiet voices reached them on the cool night air. People were scared, but they were not broken. Sarah scanned the skies. "The Drekker will come soon. I can feel it." Jonah nodded. "Then we prepare." Around the colony, survivors worked silently. They had built simple defenses walls of metal scraps, hidden traps, and lookout posts. No one was a soldier, but everyone was ready to fight for their home. "Have you ever fought in a real battle?" Jonah asked Sarah softly. She looked at him. "Yes, but not like this. This fight is for hope, not for glory." Jonah smiled. "I like that." The two of them returned to the center of the colony, where Zara and a few others waited. "We will stay here tonight," Zara said. "People will rest, but keep watch." Jonah agreed. "We all take turns. No one fights alone." The night was long. Stars twinkled above, but the silence felt heavy. Every small sound made hearts jump. Children huddled close to their parents, and some adults whispered prayers suddenly. A distant roar echoed through the trees. "Drekker," Sarah whispered, eyes wide. Lights appeared, far away green, sharp, and moving fast. Jonah felt his heart pound. The nightmare was real. Attack the Drekker ships landed like black shadows in the clearing. Their warriors poured out, tall, armored figures moving with quiet strength. Their weapons glowed with cold blue light. Jonah stood with Zara and Sarah as the Drekker advanced. "Remember?" Jonah shouted. "They want to scare us?" Stand strong. Survivors fired makeshift weapons, small energy guns, and whatever they could hold. The Drekker were powerful, but slow in the thick trees. Sarah moved like a shadow, firing her own energy blaster with precise shots. Jonah helped where he could, moving between the fighters, protecting the weak. The battle was fierce, but short. The Drekker wanted to crush the colony quickly, but the people fought back harder than expected. Jonah caught a Drekker warrior by surprise and knocked the weapon from his hand. "Why do you fight?" the alien growled. "For my home," Jonah said. The warrior hesitated, then nodded and retreated slowly. The Drekker pulled back to their ships. The colony was still standing. Aftermath, the survivors gathered around a small fire. Some were injured but alive. Zara looked at Jonah with tears in her eyes. "You saved us." "No," Jonah said. "Saved each other." Sarah checked her scanner. "They will return. But now they know we are not afraid." Jonah stood and looked at the stars. "We need more help. We'll send word to the Alliance," Sarah promised. "But it will take time." Jonah smiled softly. "Then we fight until they come." The colony began to rebuild. People worked side by side, their hope stronger than before. Jonah knew the battle was only the start. But for the first time in a long time, he felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. The sky over Moran IV was calm again, the green forests and quiet rivers seemed peaceful. But Jonah knew the peace was fragile. The Drekker had retreated, but they had not given up. Sarah stood beside him on the hill. Her face was tired, but proud. "They will come back," she said softly. Jonah nodded, "and we will be ready." Word had spread beyond the Ring of Unity. The story of the small colonies stand against the Drekker reached distant stars. Ships from the Alliance were on their ways. Soldiers, doctors, builders all ready to help. Jonah felt a strange mix of hope and responsibility. He was no longer just a man hiding from his past. He had become a symbol, a reason for others to believe in a better future. The people of Moran IV had changed too. They were no longer just survivors. They were fighters. They were family. A new beginning. The Alliance ships arrived quietly in the sky. Their powerful engines hummed softly as they landed beside the colony. Soldiers stepped down, their armor shining, but their faces kind. Jonah met with the commanders, told them about the colony, the attack, and the bravery of its people. "Commander," a tall woman with bright eyes, spoke. "We will build defenses here. We will make sure Moran IV never falls." Jonah smiled. "Thank you. This place deserves a chance." Sarah looked at him. "You have changed everything." He shook his head. "We changed everything. Together." The secret revealed late one night. Sarah brought Jonah to a quiet room on the ship. The stars outside glittered like diamonds. "There is something I must tell you," she said. Jonah looked at her, curious. "On my planet," Sarah began, "your name is more than a legend. It is a promise." She explained that long ago, before the Drekker War, her people had ancient stories. These stories spoke of a warrior from a distant world who would bring hope when darkness fell. "You," she said, "are the one they waited." For Jonah felt a shiver. "I'm just a man." "No," Sarah said firmly. "You are much more." The future Jonah stood on the hill looking at the colony below. Children laughed and played, and people worked to rebuild. He thought about the journey, the fear, the battles, the friends he had made. He thought about the secret Sarah had told him, and he knew one thing for sure. His story was not finished. Legend would live on not because of strength or weapons, but because of hope.